Hey guys, Matt here with another episode of Costa Rica Crypto. So I initially did a video about EDNA, and then I had Greg on for an interview, but there's been a bunch of new developments with EDNA since then, and I just want to be completely transparent. I have Greg on a lot because I'm a huge fan of what he's doing. I think that the project is one of those projects that's got some huge social implications, and I think that people need to understand some of the messages that come along with this project. And in full disclosure, on a small scale, I have gotten involved a little bit behind the scenes because I believe in what he's doing, and I believe in the project. But as I said, there's been some developments come along. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about token economics today and some of the profit models that have been kind of refined over the last little while. But I just want to say, hey, Greg, and I was wondering if you can kind of, for anybody who missed the last video, if it's possible to just give a little bit of a breakdown, what it is kind of, in a few sentences and how it works.
Sure, you bet. First off, thanks for having me back, Matt. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. It's easy. You're a comfortable interviewer. You make it easy. So EDNA is here so that human beings can control their own DNA, and there's lots of reasons why you'd want to do that. The blockchain creates a unique opportunity to secure data in such a way that it can also be used. And to make genetic information valuable, it needs that. But the privacy aspects of genetic data are so much more important, really, even than your bank account. If you consider what it is, what it means, once you really delve into what genetic information can say about you and the repercussions in your life, it almost becomes, what do you want to protect more, your money or your life? And, that may be it may appear to be a pretty strong idea, but it is that critical. The more you understand, the more you learn about it, the more that would become not such a weird thing to say. So I encourage people to go back and watch the earlier video, really to get a good grip on why I'm talking like that. What does that mean? Why should you pay that a close attention to your genetic information? So what we're here to do is secure your genetic information and make you give you an opportunity to profit from it. Why not? If you hand it over to another genetic sequencing service, a popular one, there are tons of them out there, and for a little bit of money, they'll tell you, how much Neanderthal you are, or what, maybe a little bit about your health risks, but they're not giving you the whole story. And the rest of the story is in the terms of service, when they basically say they are allowed to own that data, profit from that data, sell it to anyone they want. And that's kind of where we step in and say, no. Mega corporations and governments don't need our genetic information. We do. And there is great deal of useful information inside your DNA, so much so that you don't have a clue yet. So that's why we're here. And that's why we created EDNA, and we will be a genetic sequencing service to our community. The community will own us and control us, and the community will basically, so that if we do a bad job, if your viewers know what a DAC is, or a decentralized autonomous community, that DAC really has all our money. And if we do a bad job, they can say, hey, EDNA, no more money. We're going to go get a new vendor to produce our DNA. We think it's that important that the project go forward, and pretty sure we can handle the sequencing part of it and do a good job for you. We've developed a model whereby it's completely secured, completely anonymous. When you send us DNA, all that's on the vial is your public key. So all we know is this DNA in this vial goes in that wallet, and that's all we know about you. So your identity is very, very secured, and you can read more about it on our website or elsewhere to see exactly how we do that, what methods we've employed.
So Greg, I just wanted to talk about really quickly, you posted another article the other day and it was from the senator of New York, I believe, who actually stood up and talked to the press and said that just for anybody who thinks that you're full of crap, or you're one of these conspiracy guys, who stood up and said that genetic home testing companies are taking your DNA and doing things that you might not be aware of with it, and that it poses a significant risk. Do you want to just kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, sure. It's pretty common knowledge by now that Facebook is in trouble for selling people's data without really having the right to do so, or having people have a full understanding of what rights they were giving up. What's so bizarre about that is just yesterday, I believe they released it came out that they have gone around to all the major banks in the US and said, hey, we'll trade our customers for their account information. We'll trade you our data for your data. And I'm a little shocked that they can get away with that and attempt to get away with it. But the senator that came out on the DNA side, and that's no different. I mean, we're talking about personal information. We're talking about things that should be kept confidential. And if we're waking up, the entire country is sort of waking up and saying, well, wait a minute, maybe it isn't so good if I put everything I do and say online. Maybe it isn't so good if I just hand a company my genetic information without figuring out what my rights are. What do I get? And what do they get? You should know the bargain. And it's clearly outlined in their terms of service. But the fact that a senator stepped forward and said, hey, this might be bad, that's kind of good. It shows us, it confirms for me at least, that we're on the right path here. Let's protect ourselves.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, it shows some balls on his behalf, because there's a lot of people. Oh yeah, a lot of money out there.
Most of the grab is from big pharma, to be honest. And that's a huge billion dollar industry. And we'll talk about them in a minute. But big pharma funds these guys and subsidizes companies that, are commonly out there grabbing DNA data. And they want it for research purposes because they'll buy a drug and sell it back to you. They'll build a drug, against this genetic condition and sell it back to you. And that's where they get their billions from. So, for him to step up and say, hey, something not so kosher here with this, that's a big deal, because he's flying in the face of some very powerful people.
He is. And of course, he has quite a bit of power himself. But at the same time, we all know that politics are not always completely transparent, as with a lot of other things.
Yeah, no doubt.
We'll move past that. Let's dig into this, Greg. Last time we talked, you had everything going on, but you've really taken the time to refine some of the models behind the token economics. You're looking into kind of a staking option. Essentially, what you've kind of said is that people are going to be able to anonymously, simply by a secret key, send an unmarked package back to be processed, where their DNA is going to be stored. If they're allowed to opt in for certain tests, which is going to give them an exponential return on their tokens and on the token staked. But there's a lot of different options and a lot of different ways that you've kind of monetized it, and not monetized it in your own favor, but monetized it in the favor of the DAC and in favor of the people. Do you want to kind of break some of these down and just kind of speak about that a little bit?
Sure. It's important to understand, I think, for folks, that there's two legs of research. And once your DNA is on chain and it's anonymous, you have the private key, but the data's in the clear. It's just that it's very, very fragmented. So you can't actually put a person together and say, I got your DNA, I pulled it. It won't work like that. Your DNA is going to be in 3 million little bits jumbled in with 5,000 other little bits of other people. And no one will ever be able to reconstruct you, not even a forensic database. One of the lead scientists on our team currently, that's his background. He comes from a forensic database where they try to match crime scene DNA with people. And he's like, your data is no good. You've scrambled it so much, I can't use it. So I know we're very confident that the data is safe. Unless, of course, you hand over your private key, just like any other crypto. If you give somebody your private key, they're going to be able to take your data. But outside of that, so the data is still in the clear. It's not encrypted. We know where in the DNA this variant is at, and we know what it is. And with that information, we can begin to form data pools. And those data pools will lead us to explore inside the community within it what this DNA means. What does it do in the body? What effects does it have? Is it green eyes, or is it something serious? Is it proclivity for heart disease? Once the pools get formed, your wallet is going to say, hey, Greg, I put some of your DNA in a new pool. And so I'll head over to the pool and check it out. And I might share a little information about my health conditions. Yeah, I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. I'm in my mid-50s, early to mid-50s. And so together, the people inside the community will work out what this DNA means. Now, we'll have genetic counselors that are part of the community who are very used to interpreting genetic data and saying, hey, that is right. That all lines up with what we know, with known science, and other advisors. That's really, what are we going to do about it? Now that we know what it is, that leads to that. I don't want to go down that path yet. I want to focus on, okay, we're going to do internal research, but we also have the ability to sell this data just like other organizations do who collect genetic information. We can sell it to researchers and monetize it. The difference is, now they pay us, the owners of the DNA. And not only that, I think we are able to negotiate some contracts with some of these guys that if they do produce a scientific result, a breakthrough, a medical breakthrough, a new drug, something with this information, that, hey, we're owed a cut. The EDNA DAC gets a cut because you wouldn't get there. And we can negotiate that in the contract with them. The DAC can't. Okay. Again, it won't be Greg. It won't be Edna. This will be the community of people in charge. Yep. Now, so that's the real model. If you look at that, that's a market worth billions.
Absolutely.
Really worth billions. And I'm not saying we're going to own the market, but we should get a piece of it. And as more and more people learn that, hey, if I just turn over this information, a company's monetizing it, it says right in their terms of service, I get zip. Now, which one's better? And so I know we have a better mousetrap. How do we get the world to beat their way to our door? We'll find out, right? We're working on it. But as that occurs, as that model occurs, the problem I have is I've already got a token out there, and we're already got people, ask people to invest, and people are investing. Now, what I think is important is that we get the bridge. In order to make this project work, we need 5,000 people, their DNA sequenced. In order to get that, we need signups. In order to get that, we need to expand our lab. We'll never build, in the lab we have, we will never get, it takes 48 hours to do a single person. So times 5,000, I'll be here a long time. No, we need to expand the lab. We need to grow it. We need better equipment, larger equipment, production ready, not prototype ready. In order to get there, we had to issue the token to raise some funds, just like any other business would. But we're going to offer a different model. If you stake your tokens, if you promise to hold on to them, we're going to give you an option to stake them for a week, a month, or a quarter. And if you stake for a quarter, you'll get basically double the amount of interest that you would get if you stake 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and keep restaking it. Okay. Sure. This contract's being written up right now. It should be on JungleNet by next week, from according to what the programmer's telling us. Yep. It will, so you can look at it in JungleNet. It's obviously going to be an open source, Ricardian compliant, the whole works. It'll be just like a replacement for the existing EDNA token contract, which was just a copy of the standard EOSIO.token contract. I don't mean to talk a whole lot of code, but the code is coming along, and pretty soon we'll have a nice little interface where you can say, I want to stake this many EDNAs for this long. You can pull them out at any time. You just lose the interest you would be gaining. Over the course of what we think is, and this might change, but I feel confident that it's going to be the right thing to do. Over the course of the next year or less, and that would be the only change, is that we do this in less than a year. We have 100 million tokens that are not dilution. This is not an addition to the existing EDNAs. This is 100 million EDNAs that we're going to give away as interest to people who stake with us. And I'm excited about that. Here's an opportunity where rather than go out and play the market and trade EDNAs for this coin or that coin, what you can do is just hold on to your EDNAs, put them in the bank. It acts like a CD. You leave it in the bank, and if at the end of the week or the quarter or the month, whatever you stake for, we just leave it there and sign you up for the next one. And it restakes, and you continue to compound that interest right on up. I said compound. I want to be clear. We're going to send those interest tokens from your CD right back to the account that's staking. So it doesn't go into your pile of stake coins, but you can always add to your pile. You can always take away from your pile. We just want you to see that you get them. Yeah,
I think that's great. So people who are investing in the project are gonna, and I think that's going to solve a lot of a lot of issues that we've been seeing with other projects as well. I know that a project of this magnitude is going to take a little bit of time for everything to come to fruition. You already have the lab, you already have the prototype, everything is done. You just need to be able to scale, right? And I think that you're going to scale. One thing that I have noticed is that the interest for this project, even in the last little while, and I'm not saying that's because of my interview, I think it's because of a lot of the other interviews that you've done, is absolutely taking off. You've got a recent new listing on an exchange. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Which exchange is that? Actually, I love the idea. With Scatter.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, these guys are amazing. These are really some talented kids. But I say kids. I say that because they're all younger than me, but they're certainly not kids. They're real live adults. But they're brilliant. And what they've done is essentially taken what is an EOS designed contract called the EOS.exchange contract, and they've married it with Scatter, which is just pure genius because it's so simple. If you have Scatter installed, you authorize Scatter, log in, you're on the exchange, and there are the tokens. You can trade it to your heart's content. The beauty of it is there is no exchange. There is no KYC. This is truly a decentralized application. There's nobody saying, I need to know what your name is. I need your driver's license or your passport, or where do you live? Where do you bank? None of that information needs to go across in order for you to start executing trades. And that is how it should have been, should always be. Not only that, these guys at Dex EOS are really going to be. I talked with them on the side a couple times. I'm hooked up with them pretty well, and their fees are going to be pretty low. They're not interested in they don't need a bunch of fees. They figure this is going to have a life of its own. Once it runs, it runs. There's not a whole lot, but their new GUI comes out in a couple days, and it's even better than the one they've got, even easier, even cleaner. And they're very responsive. If you jump on their Telegram and you've got something to say about their product, they're all over it. They're going to ask you questions about it. Well, why do what do you want? That's a great idea. Yeah, we're going to put it in. What else can we do? These are perfect. These are the right kind of developers. They're very integrated with this community. And normally you see the developers, they're back in the closet eating pizza slid under the door. They don't talk to the public. Yeah. But these guys are really out front. And we're proud to be there. We're proud. I think now, just yesterday, I think they listed a whole bunch of other tokens, but we were first. They came to us first. I want to throw that in because I'm proud of that. I'm glad we got to get together with them. Yeah.
Me too, man. I had the pleasure of interviewing NS James the other day, who I'm a huge fan of. I love the guy's brain. I love the way that he thinks, and I love Scatter because he's doing a huge justice, and I think he's going to do some big things with it. But Dex EOS, when I saw that pop up, it was I looked at it at first, and I didn't really understand what was going on. When I saw the Scatter component, I thought, this is the future. This is brilliant.
Speaking of NS James, we talked to him this morning about helping us out so that Scatter's integrated with the staking process in EDNA. It'll work just like the others, just like Dex EOS. So I'm very excited about that. So much is happening. I even forgot that. I mean, it's such a huge deal, but But you got to understand, my bing, bing, this is the emails going off. I'm like, this is, wow.
I know how busy you are, man. We talk all the time. But just as a quick summary of kind of what we talked about. So staking a certain amount of coins is going to give you a payout of other coins. The current profit model that you have worked out on the site refers to the fact that owning EDNA tokens, and I know this is further on down the line, but it's work in progress, but owning EDNA tokens is going to give you a piece of any development research that comes from the submission of people. And we're not talking about people being forced to submit their DNA to these particular things. We're talking about a decision. They're informed about the process. They give their DNA if they want to. And then the people who own the tokens are going to get a return. The people who actually submit their DNA or have their DNA on chain are going to get a larger piece of that profit. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
You bet. So there's 3 grades of membership essentially in the DAC. And the first grade is you hold EDNA tokens. Okay. That's you now are qualified to be a member. You sign up, you get into the DAC, you now have voting rights with those tokens as to how the DAC spends its money. You have voting rights as to how the governance and other things will be said about the DAC, just like any normal DAC. So that's one level. And you will be entitled to any profits or a share of the profits. And we call that one level, right? One bit, one value of profit. Now, if you put DNA on the chain, we consider you a more serious investor in the token. You have more at stake in the stack. So we double that. Now, if you actually take and get involved with a particular research project, we think you belong in the 10 times level, because it's really your DNA that you're putting at risk. It's really your DNA that, when I say putting at risk, no, that's a bad choice of words on my part. You're bringing your DNA. If you are in this 10x level, you've just committed at a higher level. And you've committed to maybe share not necessarily your identity, but some information about your health conditions. Something like, yeah, I've got cancer, or no, I've never been sick a day in my life. And, your medical history, when I say that, I know it's going to intimidate some people, but trust me, we're all about privacy. EDNA is 100% about privacy and security. And we're not going to do it if there's any way that can be compromised. So it will be in a very, very clean and HIPAA compliant way. When I was back at Oracle in my early days of programming, I had to go through and make sure all Oracle software was HIPAA compliant. It was one of my roles there. And it was kind of a big battle to figure out when we started reading, when the HIPAA first came out in the software world, and said, okay, how are we going to make sure that people's medical information is secure within software? Man, we went to some crazy meetings, but in the end, we figured out how to do it. So we know how to do it, and we'll make sure that it's done right.
I believe it, man. I really do. I think that's really cool. I think it's neat that you kind of refined this model for the DAC. I think it's cool the way that, and I understand how you're going to do the transparency thing, right? Your sample goes off. It only has your private key. There's no return address. Gets put onto the chain, gets scrambled with a bunch of other information to the point that a forensics guy who does forensic DNA can't even pull it apart. I know we're safe. I wouldn't have done it otherwise, because, that's sort of like, that defeats the whole purpose of why we're doing this. This is about humans' rights, our rights. This is about my right to my DNA, what it's inside it. That's private information that belongs to me. I own it. And I don't think that should just be given away. And I understand why people do it, but I think they're being tricked. I think if their eyes were opened a little bit, they'd understand what really is happening here, and they'd probably change their mind. Yeah. Go ahead, buddy. I'm actually going to, I apologize to cut you off.
Please, come on. I just cut you off.
No. Anyway, I'm going to post that one article that we spoke about earlier underneath the video here. And I think if the senator of New York speaking about this kind of thing doesn't open your eyes a little bit, then I don't think anything will. So that's okay. But I love it, man. I think that you guys are going to do some really, really amazing things in the future. I'm proud to call you a friend and be able to talk with you and watch the whole process unfold. I think that I think it's scary, as I kind of mentioned in the previous video about what's actually happening. You're submitting your DNA because you want to know if you're 50% Viking. Like we've got
right.
We got some scary things happening, and I think that if the way that you built it into a DAC with this profit model, if everybody has a chance to instead of giving it away to somebody else, not only just profit, have anonymity unless they otherwise want to reveal some details for a particular study, and just furthermore have a say in who's using this. Whether so if you don't want to, if some weapons maker of biological weapons comes up, you can say, no, that's not my gig. And I don't think those are the kind of guys that you guys are going to support through your DAC.
Yeah. I hope not. I mean, the DAC, I could be outvoted certainly, but I think I would bet that people who join our DAC are not going to think like we want to support biological weapons manufacturers. I just don't see it happening. Why would they? Might as well just go give it away to one of the existing companies who's already doing that, right? So, no, I think the people that'll join us are concerned about privacy, are concerned about ownership. This is our DNA. And if it solves cancer, if it's inside you, Matt, the magic gene that cures cancer, that's $1 trillion cure. And, at least with EDNA, they have to treat you fair. They're going to have to treat you fair, because if they're not going to treat us fair, we're not going to form a contract with them. We're not going to let them have the data. And I think that's how you got to approach these things, so that right now they're not treating you fair, because it's sort of like running up to a little 3-year-old and saying, hey, you want this piece of candy for that $100 bill, and the 3-year-old doesn't know what a $100 bill is, but you make the trade and you feel all good about yourself, but that's how I look at these companies that are doing this. They're tricking you. You don't really understand. Most people, when I say you, I mean most people that sign up to do business with them and give them their DNA are being treated like that.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that I want to emphasize this because I want to make sure it comes across properly. Anybody, it's not all about making money to cure diseases. The beautiful thing about being a part of the DAC is that if you're involved in a study, there is some income. Otherwise, it would have come from another company that's selling people's DNA without their say, and you make some income. You're more than welcome to take that income and donate that to another cause that you're into. It's more so about securing your rights, and making sure that you have control over the things that your DNA is being used for. You have a storage of your DNA on the chain. Should you need to do some retracement, CRISPR technology is another mind-blowing thing that I've kind of been digging into lately. So I'll post another link down below. The fact that modifying our genes is happening right now. You're going to be able to do it in the near future. It's going to get more affordable. There's just so many aspects to this, to what you're doing, Greg, that I really, really I love and I'm passionate about, and I think that your passion shines through as well. So I want to thank you for doing this project, and I want to thank you for doing everything you do, because I don't think this is hyperbole when I say that EDNA has the potential to change the world and change the distribution of what's happening, and then change the distribution of what this research is being used for, and give people a say in their own identity, as well as, of course, having a secured version on the chain should genetic mutation occur, and that might be beneficial to have as kind of a baseline. So I want to thank you for that. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about here today? Moving forward, how can people find you? How can people get involved with what you're doing? And how can people track you down?
I will definitely answer that question. Those questions, they can't track me down. I'm hidden in the north woods of Wisconsin on the lake, and there's no getting to Greg. No, there is. I'm in the phone book. So no, here, let's get serious. I do want to say, I want to give you guys, your listeners, a little first heads up. I have to be careful how I say this, but in the next couple of days, you're going to hear some big breakthroughs with EDNA in terms of some steps we're taking to make it much easier to deal with your EDNAs, store your EDNAs. I think I'll stop there. There's some really cool things happening, so keep an eye on us on our Telegram. The Telegram's off the website. It's listed there. All of our social media links are at the bottom of the front page of the website, and the website's pretty simple to remember. It's edna, edna.life. like, let's have life, right? And so come and see us. There's lots updates to the website probably in the next 24 hours too. We're announcing some new partnerships. That's about all I can say about it right now, but I'm very excited about what's going on. We're starting to see that this will happen, and I'm gaining confidence that it can't not happen anymore. There's people pushing on it that they're bigger than me.
So, Greg, you know, one of these days I want to just interview you, because I know a lot about your background, because we've talked a lot. I think you're a really, really interesting cat, and some of the places that you've been and some of the things that you've done, and just your views on life and philosophy and everything else as well. So I'm going to have to do that. Greg, as soon as these kits become available, I'm going to ask you right now and put some pressure behind you. I want to make a video, because I want to be involved in that DAC. I will have my DNA on Edna, and when everything goes live and you start accepting people's DNA, I want one of the kids, I'd love to do a video on it and kind of show the whole process and just kind of illustrate that, because
that'd be a great video. How easy is this, right? I ordered it up on I like the Amazon link in place, because that makes it so sweet. Or the pharmacy, the do-it-yourself from the pharmacy kit. Here's what you need to go get out of your local pharmacy, this little bottle of preservative. Okay. It's a chemical. You need this little white bottle they sell for 4 cents, right? You put it in there, you ship it to our address after you put a label on it that says stuff a piece of paper in there. We'll do, that way, there's trillions of these bottles, plastic bottles in the world. No one would ever, ever, ever be able to tie this to you. And that's important. I think people need to feel that confidence level, because we're slamming the people that do tie it to you, and for us to come across this is really bad if you let your DNA out. Well, here's how you keep it safe, and if we walk them through it and they go, oh yeah, I can see how I'm safe. You're right. You never know who I am. Yeah. Okay. I can do this. And, but because I want to know what's in my DNA, I want to know what's in the box, right? What did Grandpa leave me? So one more bit here. I just occurred to me. You and your significant wife,
yes.
Girlfriend,
yes,
wife,
girlfriend, soon to be wife,
girlfriend, fiance, soon to be. I won't tell. No, you're complimentary sequenced and you're in the top 100. You'll get in there right away, right at the head. Again, we can't go on chain till we have 5,000, but you understand how it works, right? We will fragment that, store it on the hard drive offline, not on a box, not connected to the internet. We have 3 servers over there that don't even have Wi-Fi cards or Bluetooth cards in them. They're stripped, man. If you don't have the key to the front, you ain't getting in. And if you try, well, I was ex-military. You probably don't want to force that box open.
We are doing an interview someday, because I think you're a super interesting guy, and I want to talk about some of your backstories. You got some crazy stories, man. And I don't think
I promise a few. I had a good life. I feel very blessed, very lucky. I got to see things not many people see, and when you travel, you're adventurous. You've gone from the far north to the far south, and you understand. A lot of Americans never left this country. A lot of Canadians never left this country, and they fall for things. Oh, we're the greatest on earth, blah, blah, blah. Well, have you ever been anywhere else to see? They do some other things pretty cool in other places, man. And, it's funny when it falls on angry ears, like, oh, that can't be right. That can't be right. But the logic is there. You never saw it, did you? You've never been. How do you know?
Yeah. The number one thing that I learned over here, and I've mentioned this in other interviews before, is a lot of people where I live have absolutely nothing. They don't have 2 pennies to scratch together. And man, they take their kids and they go down to the beach and they kick around like a soccer ball that's made of tape. And those people are happy. And that's
yeah. No, stuff is not the consumer model, isn't what everything's about. I've seen that in other parts of the world too. You go to Italy or Spain or somewhere like that, and it's all about family. We're taking off work because we're going to have a 3-hour lunch and go home and drink wine around the table with our family and talk about our morning. And I'm like, what? What? You drinking wine at lunch? Oh, everybody does. Half of Italy does. No, 3/4. I bet I'll more. And that's how their lifestyle is. And then they go back and work till like late at night, and then they come back and eat again with their family. And it's like, family's important.
Yes.
They love to work, but they're not going to kill themselves working. And it's like, what a balance, man. That's a healthier, happier way to live. And we could all take a little bit of a lesson from a lot of countries where, you know, we tend to look down our noses at them because their standard of living. Well, okay, how about quality of life instead of standard of living measured by how many rubber tires you got in your garage?
Yep.
You know, that crap doesn't go with you in any sort of internal way, right? If there's anything left to us when we die, those tires in my garage aren't going with me. But the quality time I spent with the people I love, that's got to go along, right? That's got to be part of me. And I think that can go with me. So we need a better balance. You know, they need to live a little better, healthier, you know, more, I don't want to say affluent life. I want to say comfortable life, not such a hard, you know, they work very hard just to feed each other, you know, just, to, you know, I think there needs to be a better balance in the world. And I believe that for the first time in my life, I see it almost happening because the younger generation coming along is focused on helping, service to others, things like that. You hear those words. You didn't hear those words from the baby boomers. They're all about me, me, me. Now, those guys are older than me. I'm in the middle, but I can see what you're doing. They think you're all full of shit. Excuse the language, but you're not, because I can see how it makes the world a better place.
You bet, man. Just as a disclaimer too, I want to say that there's a lot of very wealthy Costa Ricans too, and they have a really good infrastructure and stuff like that. But the one thing that I noticed here is that there's the larger divide between the have and the have-nots. And I think what really impressed me here in Costa Rica and a lot of Central America is that the have-nots who don't have a lot are happy, man. And interestingly, Costa Rica is the number one place for centenarios, which are people who live over 100 years old. And we're talking about people who don't have the same infrastructure, but you know what? They don't have a lot of the same opportunities, but they eat good food. And the key is they're happy, man. And that to me,
no, good, clean food and a stress-less or a de-stressed lifestyle, it has to go a long way. There's probably a genetic component down there too. I think we'll have to get a bunch of Costa Ricans and check their DNA, see what's making you tick a little bit longer and better than the rest of us.
Greg, I just want to say thank you so much for chatting with me again today. You're a super interesting character. I think that your heart is in the right place. I want to see this project go, and I can't wait to see what you do with the future. Keep us tuned on updates. I look forward to talking to you again very, very soon. And once again, thanks so much for talking with me, and thanks for doing what you do. I really appreciate it. And I know a lot of people out there either do or will in the near future.
Well, hey, thanks, Matt. I appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Anytime you want me back, I'd be happy to sit. We get some big news. You'll be learning about it. Trust me, I'll ring you up.
Sounds good, my friend. You take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.